Geist, the subjected species, dared to imagine a different future, one where the Zephyrian Empire was not the unquestioned ruler of all. The Zephyrian imperial palace towered over the capital city, its crystal spires catching the light of twin suns. Inside the Grand Council chamber, 200 Zephyrian elders sat in tiered seats that rose along the circular walls. At the center stood the human delegation, Do-Yun, Ji-Woo, and 5 others, small figures surrounded by alien grandeur. Emperor Kyung-Hoon, ruler of 70% of the known galaxy, watched from his elevated throne. Unlike the elders, whose blue skin had faded with age, the Emperor's scales still shimmered with vibrant color. His 4 eyes studied the humans with ancient intelligence. For 5,000 years, the Empire has maintained order among the stars, the Emperor began. No species has challenged our dominance since the Great Unification, until now. The chamber filled with the soft, clicking sounds of Zephyrian debate. Some elders demanded Earth's immediate subjugation. Others argued for a more measured approach. The humans cheated during the sacred trials, declared Elder Minjae, his voice carrying across the chamber. They altered the simulation parameters. They refused to accept their proper place. And yet, countered a younger elder named Sunwoo, they defended their moon colony with technology they developed in mere months. Their rate of adaptation is unprecedented. Commander Taehyun stood at the edge of the chamber, officially present as an observer. When called upon, he spoke carefully. The humans have demonstrated qualities the Empire has not encountered before. Their technological inferiority is balanced by their creativity and determination. The Emperor gestured to Ji-Woo. Human, you may address the council. Why should we not simply crush your world as an example to others? Ji-Woo stepped forward, her heart racing but her voice steady. Emperor Kyung-Hoon, esteemed council, I bring evidence that may change your perspective. She activated a small holographic projector that displayed centuries of Zephyrian technological advancement. The images showed a clear pattern, rapid progress, in the Empire's early days, followed by slower and slower innovation. The Zephyrian Empire has achieved wonders, Ji-Woo acknowledged, but your rate of advancement has decreased with each passing century. Your civilization has stagnated precisely because of your dominance. Angry clicks filled the chamber, but the Emperor raised a hand for silence. Without challenges, without the need to adapt or overcome, any species will stagnate, Ji-Woo continued. Humans advance quickly because we must. Necessity drives innovation. She showed examples of human history, how war, disease, and hardship had pushed forward medical science, technology, and social organization. In just 6 months of studying Zephyrian technology, we've created innovations your scientists never considered, she said. Not because we're smarter, but because we see with fresh eyes unbound by your traditions. Do-Hyun stepped forward next. We don't seek to replace the Zephyrians as galactic rulers, he stated firmly. We propose a new model, cooperation between species, each contributing their unique strengths. The Emperor's inner eyelids flickered thoughtfully. An interesting theory, but words mean little. What guarantee do we have that humans won't simply become the next tyrants once they acquire our technology? Before Do-Hyun could answer, a communication alert sounded. The chamber's screens activated, showing representatives from 12 subjugated worlds. Each had been watching the trials. Now they spoke as one. We stand with Earth, declared the representative from Altaris, a world that had been under Zephyrian control for 2,000 years. If humans are destroyed for seeking equality, we will resist with all our strength. The humans have shown us that the Empire is not invincible, added another alien leader. We demand representation in this council. The age of simple subjugation must end. The Emperor turned to his advisors, their conversation inaudible to the waiting humans. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. 3 tense hours later, Emperor Kyung-Hoon returned to his throne. The chamber fell silent. For 5,000 years, no species has earned recognition as equals to Zephyrians, he announced. Today that changes. Earth will be acknowledged as a sovereign world, neither subject nor enemy to the Empire. Murmurs rippled through the council, but none dared oppose the Emperor's decree. Furthermore, a new galactic council will be formed, with proportional representation from all worlds. The Empire will maintain leadership, but no longer absolute authority. It was a compromise that allowed the Zephyrians to save face while fundamentally transforming the galactic order. The humans had achieved the impossible, not through military might, but by forcing the Empire to recognize the value of diversity and adaptation. 1 month later, Commander Tae-hyun and Dr. Ji-woo Kim stood together at the opening ceremony of the first joint Zephyrian Human Research Institute on Earth's moon. Scientists from both worlds would work side by side, combining Zephyrian knowledge with human creativity. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," Ji-woo said to the assembled delegates. "Not of dominance, but of mutual growth." Tae-hyun nodded in agreement. The Zephyrian Empire ruled unchanged for 5,000 years. Perhaps it was time for evolution. Across the galaxy, other species began their own peaceful resistance movements, inspired by humanity's example. Old hierarchies were questioned. New alliances formed. The balance of power shifted slowly but inevitably toward a more equal distribution. On distant worlds, children of many species learned the story of how humans had changed the galaxy forever, not through conquest, but by refusing to accept limitations imposed by others. They learned that sometimes the greatest strength is not power or technology, but the courage to imagine a different way forward. The day the Zephyrians faced their equal became not an ending, but a beginning, the first chapter in a new history of the galaxy, where no single species ruled supreme and all contributed to a greater whole. As they spoke, representatives from 3 other subjected species approached cautiously. They had noticed the humans' successes and wanted to establish contact. "Your people fight when others would surrender," said a tall, slender being with diamond-like skin. "We have forgotten how to resist, but perhaps we can remember." Ji-woo realized that the trials were having an unintended consequence. By forcing humans to demonstrate their adaptability publicly, the Zephyrians had inadvertently given hope to other subjugated species. Elder Minjae observed these interactions from a distance, his ancient eyes narrowing. The trials were meant to put humans in their place, to show them the futility of resistance. Instead, they were becoming a symbol of possibility. "The 4th trial will begin tomorrow," he announced, his voice colder than before. "Her test of warfare strategy. Prepare yourselves, humans. You will find no simple solutions there." Do-hyun gathered his team that night. "They're going to make the next test impossible," he said. "But remember, when the rules are stacked against you, sometimes you have to change the game." The 4th trial arena was different from the others, a vast chamber filled with holographic projectors and neural interface units. Elder Minjae stood at its center, his ancient face showing no emotion as the human team entered. "The test of warfare strategy requires direct mental connection," Minjae explained. "You will face a simulated battle scenario drawn from Zephyrian history. No species has ever completed this trial successfully." Do-hyun stepped forward as the designated strategist for the human team. Technicians attached neural sensors to his temples, connecting him to the simulation system. "The scenario is simple," Minjae continued. "You command a fleet of 30 vessels against a superior force of 100. Your objective is to protect a civilian outpost. Begin." The simulation activated, and Do-hyun found himself in a virtual command center. Star maps showed his ships represented by blue lights, while red lights indicated the enemy forces. The civilian outpost blinked green on a distant moon. He quickly assessed the situation and realized the truth. The scenario was mathematically impossible to win. The enemy forces were too numerous, too well positioned, and had overwhelming firepower. It was designed to force surrender. As the simulation progressed, Do-hyun tried various strategies, but each failed. His ships were destroyed one by one, despite his best efforts. The civilian outpost drew closer to destruction with each passing minute. Watching from outside, Ji-woo noticed something unusual about the simulation controls. "The system has an open access port," she whispered to Hana. "It's a testing backdoor they forgot to close." Hana's eyes widened. "Can we use it?" "It would be cheating by their standards," Ji-woo replied. "But there's nothing in the rules against changing the parameters." While Do-hyun continued to fight the losing battle, Ji-woo secretly accessed the simulation through her personal device. She couldn't change the enemy forces directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, she altered the environmental conditions of the battlefield. Inside the simulation, Do-hyun was down to his last 5 ships when he noticed a strange phenomenon. A solar flare erupted from a nearby star, creating an electromagnetic storm that affected sensors and communications. It was an unexpected element that hadn't been present before. Recognizing the opportunity, Do-hyun quickly repositioned his remaining ships within the storm. The enemy's superior targeting systems became useless in the electromagnetic interference, while his vessels used more primitive but effective visual tracking methods. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. Using the storm as cover, Do-hyun's small fleet launched surprise attacks that disabled key enemy vessels. Within minutes, he had destroyed their command ship and forced a retreat. The simulation ended abruptly. Elder Min-jae's inner eyelids flickered. Rapidly with anger. "You altered the parameters," he accused. "This is a violation of the trial's integrity." Do-hyun removed the neural sensors calmly. The trial tested warfare strategy. In real warfare, changing the battlefield conditions is a valid strategy. We adapted to win. This is not adaptation, it is deception. Min-jae's voice echoed through the chamber. "Respectfully, Elder," Do-hyun replied, "deception is one of the oldest strategies in warfare. We use the tools available to us, just as any commander would in a real battle." The watching aliens murmured among themselves. Some nodded. In agreement with Do-hyun's argument, Tae-hyun stepped forward. "Elder Min-jae, the humans have demonstrated creative problem-solving, which is the essence of this trial. Their method was unexpected but effective." Min-jae silenced him with a gesture. "The High Council will decide if this constitutes a legitimate completion of the trial. Until then, the trials are suspended." News of the controversial 4th trial spread quickly through the Zephyrian Empire. The ruling council was divided. Traditionalists argued that the humans had cheated and should be disqualified immediately. Others, a growing minority, saw value in the innovative approach. While the council debated, a faction of hardline Zephyrians took matters into their own hands. Admiral Jae-wan, commander of the Imperial Third Fleet, launched an unauthorized attack on Earth's lunar colony without council approval. "We will show these primitives their proper place," Jae-wan told his crew as their ships entered Earth's solar system. But Earth had changed during the trials. The reverse engineering programs had yielded results faster than anyone expected. New defense systems, incorporating adapted Zephyrian technology with human innovations, protected key installations. When Jae-hwan's ships fired on the lunar colony, they met an unexpected response. Earth's defensive grid activated, projecting energy shields that absorbed the initial assault. Then automated defense platforms returned fire with weapons that combined Zephyrian energy principles with human targeting systems. "Impossible," gasped Jae-hwan as he watched 3 of his ships disabled by the counterattack. "Their weapons are modified versions of our own technology." The battle was brief but decisive. Jae-hwan was forced to retreat, his fleet damaged and his pride shattered. It was the first time in centuries that a Zephyrian military action had failed, so completely. Word of the failed attack reached Proxima Centauri b within hours. The watching alien representatives saw what many had thought impossible, a species that not only stood against the Zephyrians, but pushed them back. Elder Min-jae received the report with grim silence. The situation had escalated beyond a simple test of worthiness. The humans had not only challenged the trials, but had now successfully defended against a Zephyrian attack. "The High Council demands an emergency session," he announced to Tae-hyun. "Prepare the humans for transport to the Imperial capital. This matter can no longer be resolved through the trials alone." Do-hyun and Ji-woo exchanged worried glances. Being taken to the Zephyrian homeworld could either mean their greatest triumph or their planet's destruction. "We've pushed them to a breaking point," Ji-woo said quietly. "Now we'll see if they break toward war or peace." Tae-hyun approached them later, speaking in hushed tones. "The Empire stands at a crossroads it has not faced in millennia. You have forced us to question assumptions that have gone unchallenged for thousands of years. Not all Zephyrians see this as a bad thing. Across the galaxy, news of Earth's resistance spread from system to system. For the first time, in our history, only 3 species have shown such spirit, Minjay continued. There is an ancient tradition for such cases, the trials of ascension. He explained that humanity would face 7 tests of intelligence, strength, and adaptability. If they passed, Earth would be recognized as an equal, the first new species to achieve this status in 2,000 years. If they failed, the penalty would be severe. Earth would be stripped of all resources, left barren. This is still a threat, whispered Jiwoo to Dohyun. Just dressed up in ceremony. But it gives us a chance, he replied, and time to prepare further. The first trial would begin in 1 month on the neutral moon of Proxima Centauri b. Earth could send 7 representatives. As Elder Minjay departed, Commander Taehyun remained behind as the Empire's ambassador. He requested a private meeting with Jiwoo and Dohyun. The disruption signal was clever, he said, surprising them with his knowledge of their tactic. But the trials are designed to be impossible for your technological level. Why tell us this? Asked Dohyun suspiciously. Taehyun's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of emotional conflict among his kind. The Empire has ruled too long without challenge. Some of us believe change may be necessary. You're helping us. Jiwoo couldn't hide her surprise. I am following my orders exactly, Taehyun replied carefully, but perhaps those orders leave room for interpretation. As they prepared for the trials, Earth united as never before. The selected team trained relentlessly. Meanwhile, engineers worked day and night, adapting more Zephyrian technology from the information they had gathered. Dohyun and Jiwoo knew humanity faced its greatest challenge. They would need every advantage, including the unexpected sympathy of Commander Taehyun. Whatever his reasons, he had given them a crucial insight. The trials were meant to be impossible. Then we'll do the impossible, Dohyun told his team the night before their departure. Because humans have been doing the impossible throughout our history. What no one yet realized was that other subjugated species across the galaxy were watching Earth closely. If humans could challenge the Zephyrians, perhaps they could too. The Proxima Centauri moon glowed with an eerie blue light as the human ship descended to its surface. The atmosphere was thin but breathable, the gravity lighter than Earth's. Jiwoo felt her steps bounce slightly as she led the human team toward the massive arena where the trials would be held. Representatives from 12 other species sat in tiered seats around the circular space. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien, floating gas clouds contained in special suits, crystalline beings that moved with mathematical precision and many forms in between. All had one thing in common: they were subject worlds of the Zephyrian Empire. Elder Minjay sat on an elevated platform, his ceremonial robes shimmering with embedded technology. Commander Taehyun stood nearby in a subordinate position, his face carefully neutral when the humans entered. The first trial begins, announced Minjay. His voice translated simultaneously for all species present. A test of technological innovation. A holographic display appeared in the center of the arena, showing a complex energy system with a critical flaw. Each component was based on advanced Zephyrian science, far beyond current human knowledge. You must correct the system failure within 1 rotation, said Minjay. Begin. Jiwoo studied the display with growing concern. We don't even understand half these components. Dohyun nodded grimly. That's the point. The trial is designed for us to fail. Hana, the team's physicist, stepped forward. She was the youngest of their group, only 28, but her understanding of theoretical energy systems was unmatched on Earth. We don't need to understand everything, she said quietly. Look at the energy flow pattern. It's similar to water in a river. If we can't fix the dam, we can dig a new channel. For the next 20 hours, the humans worked tirelessly. Instead of trying to repair the Zephyrian technology directly, they designed a bypass system using simpler principles. It wasn't elegant by Zephyrian standards, but it redirected the energy flow around the damaged components. When the time expired, Minjay inspected their solution. His inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of surprise. Unorthodox, he declared. But functional. The first trial is passed. A murmur ran through the watching aliens. No one had expected the humans to succeed. They shouldn't have been able to solve it, whispered Sung-Ho, a Zephyrian scientist, to Tae-hyun. Their technological base is too primitive. Tae-hyun watched the humans celebrate quietly. Perhaps, he replied, we've forgotten what it means. To overcome obstacles rather than simply avoid them. The second trial tested mathematical reasoning. The humans were presented with an equation that had puzzled Zephyrian mathematicians for centuries. Again, instead of approaching it conventionally, the humans found an unexpected solution. Jiho, their mathematician, recognized that the problem could be solved through a branch of Earth mathematics called topology, looking at the spatial relationships rather than the quantitative values. His solution was considered inelegant by Zephyrian standards, but undeniably correct. The third trial focused on resource adaptation. The humans were placed in an environment with limited supplies and asked to create a sustainable living system. While other species might have used advanced technology, humans relied on their long history of adaptation. They created simple but effective water filtration systems, established crop rotation methods, and implemented energy conservation techniques. That surprised the Zephyrians with their efficiency. 3 trials, 3 unexpected successes. The watching species began to whisper among themselves. Some looked at the humans with new hope in their eyes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the global effort to reverse engineer Zephyrian technology continued at a frantic pace. Every transmission from the trials provided new insights. Engineers worked day and night, adapting alien concepts to human frameworks. A Zephyrian spy drone detected this activity and reported back to the Empire. The High Council was alarmed at how quickly humans were advancing. They're progressing too rapidly, warned one council member. If they continue at this rate, they could reach our level within decades rather than centuries. On the third night of the trials, Tae-hyun secretly met with Jiwoo in a quiet corner of the habitat assigned to the humans. You should know that the Council is watching Earth, he told her. They're concerned about your technological development. We're just trying to survive, Jiwoo replied. Wouldn't you do the same? Tae-hyun hesitated. The Empire has existed for so long that we've forgotten what it means to struggle. Everything comes easily to us now, but easy solutions don't always lead to growth. Is that why you're helping us? Jiwoo asked. I'm not helping you, Tae-hyun said carefully. I'm following my duty to ensure fair trials, but... He paused, struggling with concepts that challenged 5,000 years of Zephyrian superiority. I'm beginning to wonder if the Empire has stopped evolving. We haven't faced a real challenge in millennia. The Zephyrian scout ship emerged from hyperspace with barely a ripple, its sleek silver hull reflecting the distant sun of the Sol system. Inside the command center, Commander Tae-hyun stood with his hands clasped behind his back, golden eyes fixed on the blue-green planet that filled the main view screen. Another primitive world, remarked his second-in-command Jinwoo, mandibles clicking with mild disdain. Their transmissions suggest they've barely mastered basic spaceflight. Tae-hyun tilted his head, a gesture of thoughtful disagreement among Zephyrians, and yet they've progressed from combustion engines to nuclear fusion in less than 300 cycles. That rate of advancement is unusual. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 5,000 years. They had encountered hundreds of species, most of which had taken millennia to reach the technological benchmarks that humans had achieved in mere centuries. The High Council had ignored Earth until now, considering it too primitive to be of interest. But recent energy signatures from the system had triggered automatic alerts. Begin standard observation protocol, Tae-hyun ordered. No contact yet. But fate had other plans. A small human research vessel detected the Zephyrian ship despite its cloaking technology, another surprise. Soon, Earth's primitive communication networks buzzed with the news of an alien presence. On Earth, Dr. Jiwoo Kim was awakened by an urgent call. As Earth's leading expert in theoretical alien languages, she was immediately summoned to the Global Space Agency headquarters. They're not responding to any of our transmission attempts, explained Director Han, as they hurried down a corridor lined with anxious officials. "We need a breakthrough before panic spreads." Jiwoo worked tirelessly for 48 hours, analyzing the faint signals emanating from the alien ship. She noticed patterns that reminded her of mathematical sequences. Taking a risk, she sent a response based on prime numbers and the value of pi. Aboard the Zephyrian ship, an alert sounded. "Commander, the humans are responding with mathematical sequences," reported the communications officer. Taehyun's inner eyelids flickered in surprise. "They understood our passive scans and formulated a coherent response? Interesting." Against standard protocol, Taehyun decided to answer. The Zephyrian Empire's superiority had bred complacency over the millennia. Most commanders would have waited for instructions from the High Council, but Taehyun had always been curious about new species. When the Zephyrian ship finally revealed itself fully in Earth's orbit, hovering above the Pacific Ocean, the sight inspired both terror and wonder. Across the planet, military forces worldwide went on high alert, but no nation dared fire first. A delegation was quickly assembled to meet the aliens if they should land. Dr. Jiwoo Kim was selected to lead the communication team. The Zephyrians chose a small island in international waters for the meeting. Their landing craft descended with graceful precision, touching down on a beach as government representatives watched from a safe distance. Taehyun emerged first, his tall, slender form draped in the iridescent robes that marked his rank. His skin had a faint blue tinge, with delicate scale-like patterns that caught the sunlight. Behind him came 6 other Zephyrians, each carrying devices unknown to human science. Jiwoo stepped forward from the human delegation. She carried nothing but a simple tablet. The contrast between human simplicity and Zephyrian sophistication was stark. "We welcome you to Earth," she said, knowing they wouldn't understand her words yet. She activated her tablet, which displayed the same mathematical sequence she had sent earlier, along with simple pictograms. Taehyun studied her work, then produced a small sphere that projected holographic images. Through these basic exchanges, the first tentative bridge between species began to form. By sunset, Jiwoo had established a rudimentary communication system. The Zephyrians learned quickly, their advanced neural implants helping them process and categorize human language patterns. "Your species progresses at an unusual rate," Taehyun told Jiwoo, his words now translated through his device. "The High Council will find this worthy of study." Something in his tone made Jiwoo uneasy. "We hope for peaceful exchange of knowledge and friendship," she replied carefully. Taehyun's 4-fingered hand made a gesture that his translator did not explain. "The Empire brings order to all worlds within its influence. You will find our protection beneficial." As the meeting concluded and the delegates returned to report to their governments, Jiwoo shared her concerns with Director Han. "They don't see us as equals," she said quietly. "To them, we're either a resource or a curiosity, maybe both." What neither humans nor Zephyrians realized that day was that this first contact had set in motion events that would challenge the very foundation of galactic order. In the coming months, humanity would face its greatest test, and the Zephyrians would encounter something they had not faced in millennia, a species that refused to accept a subordinate role in the cosmic hierarchy. As Taehyun's ship lifted off, he recorded his initial assessment. Humans, technologically inferior but unusually adaptable. Recommended approach, standard integration protocol. It was the same recommendation he had made for dozens of worlds. He had no reason to think this one would be any different. He was wrong. 6 months after first contact, the Zephyrian embassy on Earth received the High Council's demands. Commander Taehyun read the message twice, his inner eyelids flicking with concern. The terms were standard for new worlds: 30% of Earth's rare minerals, limited technology transfers, and acceptance of Zephyrian advisors in all major governments. The Council called these protection fees. Taehyun knew humans would not accept these terms. In the months since his arrival, he had studied Earth history. Humans fought fiercely for independence. They might be technologically behind, but their spirit was strong. "The Council underestimates them," he told his aide quietly. The meeting with Earth's United Nations Security Council went exactly as he feared. The human representatives listened politely to the Zephyrian demands, then firmly rejected them. "Earth is not for sale," said the Secretary-General. "We seek friendship between equals, not submission." Taehyun was required to deliver the standard. Response: "The Empire has brought peace and order to the galaxy for 5,000 years. Resistance has never succeeded." Within days, 15 Zephyrian warships arrived in the solar system. They positioned themselves in a blockade formation around Earth. No ships could leave or enter without permission. The message was clear: accept our terms or suffer. Captain Dohyun of the experimental Earth vessel. Defiant watched the blockade from lunar base. His ship was humanity's best hope, built with reverse-engineered elements from Zephyrian technology shared during the initial diplomatic exchanges. The Defiant was faster and more heavily armed than any previous human ship, though still primitive compared to Zephyrian dreadnoughts. "We can't match their firepower," Dohyun told his crew during their final briefing. "But we don't need to win. We just need to show them we can fight." His plan was considered suicidal. The Defiant would lead a small fleet of 6 ships through the blockade, targeting the weakest point, then jump to Mars orbit to prove humans could not be contained. Dr. Jiwoo Kim, now serving as the fleet's communication specialist, had a different idea. "The Zephyrians rely heavily on quantum communication networks. Their ships are linked in ways our technology can't match," she explained. "But every network has points of vulnerability." She had developed a signal that might disrupt their coordination for a few crucial minutes. It wasn't a weapon, just electronic noise targeted at their communication frequencies. The mission launched under cover of a meteor shower. As the small fleet approached the blockade, Jiwoo activated her disruption signal. The effect was immediate and surprising. 2 Zephyrian dreadnoughts lost formation, their movements becoming sluggish and uncoordinated. "Now," ordered Dohyun. The human fleet accelerated through the gap, weapons firing precisely at non-critical systems. They didn't want to destroy the Zephyrian ships, just damage them enough to make a point. The Defiant took heavy damage during the escape, but accomplished its mission. All 6 human ships reached Mars orbit. For the first time in recent memory, a species had successfully challenged Zephyrian military might. The response came 3 days later. Helder Minje, a high-ranking member of the Zephyrian Council, arrived personally to address the situation. His ship dwarfed even the largest dreadnoughts in the blockade. "Your resistance was unexpected," Minje told the emergency session of the UN Security Council. His age-spotted skin and slow movements couldn't hide the dangerous intelligence in his eyes. "The Council has reconsidered its approach." The humans waited tensely for his next words.